Hey y'all, Chelsea and Danny here.
Enjoy this episode of Today's Homeowner here on YouTube.
Today's Homeowner with Danny Lipford. Real projects for real homeowners with real solutions. Information and inspiration on improving your home from professional remodeler Danny Lipford.
Welcome to the show this week. You know, over the last few years, many of us have really been spending a lot of time trying to make our homes more energy efficient by sealing up cracks with caulking on the outside of the home, installing new windows, weather stripping, and so forth. And it's really starting to pay off on those lower utility bills. However, we're also creating an environment in our homes that is so tight that many experts have been concerned about indoor air pollution. This week, we'll show you how you can protect your family from one of the most common pollutant sources in your home, and that's your heating and air conditioning ductwork. Also, how's your drinking water? We'll show you how easy it is to have filtered water in your home. And we'll also look at the things you need to know about radon and lead. Now, this is our Healthy Home Show, so don't go anywhere for your family's sake. Welcome back to the show. Now, one of the best things you can do to protect your family from indoor air pollution is to regularly change your furnace filter. Now, this is a return air grill, and all of the air that gets to your heating and cooling system has to pass through this grill and through this filter. Now, if your filter is as dirty as this one, you've got a couple problems. First of all, it's restricting the air that's being pulled into the heating and cooling system, making that system work a lot harder and in turn costing you more money. Also, it's allowing particles to get through the filtering into your ductwork, and that's not a good situation at all because it'll eventually distribute those contaminants throughout your room. Now, this filter is the least expensive and, to tell you the truth, the least efficient type of filter. It's used by 85% of all homeowners. There are better alternatives. Here's one. This is a washable filter, electrostatically charged. You're able to take this out every month or so, wash it real thoroughly, put it back in. Most homeowners won't wash it thoroughly, so it's not as effective as it could be. Now, another type of filter that I'm seeing a lot of people use is an allergy type filter. Now, this is pleated and also is electrostatically charged and is very effective in containing those small particles that can get through into your ductwork. A lot of those are the allergens that cause the big problems. Now, when you're replacing filters, remember this. This is a directional arrow that shows you the position that it should go in for the airflow to come into it. So remember to make sure you're placing that in the right direction. Now, if you're one of the homeowners that have not done this on a regular basis, you may have already contaminated more or less the inside of your ductwork. Now, if that's the case or you suspect that, you may need to call a duct cleaning service. The duct cleaning industry has really exploded over the last few years, and this homeowner is taking advantage of a duct cleaning service owned by Rob Holmes. Now, Rob, what is it? Why is everybody all of a sudden realizing they really need to keep the ductwork clean?
Well, Danny, nowadays everybody is tightening up their homes so much and building them so much more efficient than in the past that the air inside the home is now more polluted than the air outside.
I'm sure with a lot of your homeowners that you deal with, you're really having to explain what exactly is involved in cleaning the entire ductwork in a home. Kind of take us through the whole process of what's involved in it.
Sure. First thing we do is come in and take all registers, grills, and covers down, take them outside, and we wash them down with an antimicrobial degreasing solution. Pure bed them and let them dry. Number two, we come in and start attacking the return air area. That's normally where the filter is located, in the hallways or in the ceiling. We clean everything in the return air area out up into the bottom of the unit itself, including the squirrel cage and the fans, the coils.
I see.
Once we get through cleaning the return out, then we start on the supply side, working from the furthest register from the air handler, which is in the back side of your home usually. We have a machine that we use that actually goes through the duct system, and it's sort of like a rotating brush with a huge vacuum head behind, which we use to send through the duct system into the spider line, which is the line connecting to the main trunk line in the home. And it cleans all the way down. Then we go to the next outlet, and start from there. And that way we're overlapping the whole way down the main trunk line of the home.
Now see, now this is fairly soft, so you really don't have to worry about it tearing any of the ductwork as it's doing its job.
That's right. It does
Okay.
not tear anything, and we can put on whatever size brush that your ductwork happens to be.
Okay.
The next thing, once we get the supply side cleaned out, we come back with chemicals that we use to sanitize the system. We use a low volume fogger, turn a liquid into a mist, and actually blow it from vent to vent all the way throughout the house, including the return. Once we have the return moistened with this sanitizing solution, we cut the fan in the on position and pull it up through the unit itself and back out through the supplies. What this does is make sure that we get every inch of the ductwork lightly moistened with this sanitizing solution, which kills molds, mildews, pollen, spores, dust mites, and things of this nature.
Okay, all right, and then I guess after that, just a matter of putting back on the registers and ready to go.
Clean up behind ourselves and we're gone.
Okay, well, I know it varies tremendously since it is a fairly labor-intensive type of process from town to town and different types of houses, but approximately, what would a homeowner pay for your service?
Well, I would say, depending on the region itself, the amount of ductwork, the type of ductwork, the material that the ductwork is made out of, you could probably figure anywhere from $350 to $750.
Get ready to review your fix-it list as Danny and home repair expert Joe Trewini show you this week's simple solution. Brought to you by Dodge.
Hey Joe, thanks a lot for helping me out on this crown molding.
Oh, anytime, Danny. Although if I realized it was this much work, I may have taken a day and gone to the golf course.
Now, it's only a couple rooms, it won't take us long at all,
Hopefully not.
especially with this nice rig you got here.
Yeah, you like that? All I did is I just took an extension ladder and set it on a couple of sawhorses so I can work at a nice, comfortable height. In fact, if we had only a couple of cuts to make, I probably would have just put this on the ground and just cut right off of there.
Well, it seems like a great setup. You've got the platform that I see is clamped down
Yep.
to hold the miter saw, and then of course this is a real important aspect of it.
Yeah, that's the blocking. When you have a long piece of board, you have to support it so you can get a nice accurate cut on this end. In fact, that, you see, it's just a 2x4 screwed to a 1x4, and it's clamped so you can easily slide it depending on the length of the board.
Okay, boy, that's convenient.
Yeah, now depending on the saw you have, the different manufacturers make these saw tables at different heights, and depending on the thickness of the platform, that blocking will be different heights. And I'll
Right.
show you a really easy way to determine how high that should be. Just take a nice flat piece of board and set it on the saw table and measure down to the top of the ladder. In this case, it's about 4 1/8 inches.
Okay, so that's perfect for the bridge that we have down here then.
Right. Now, the other great thing about using the extension ladder is if you're using really long, need to cut long pieces of molding, you can extend the ladder out. Now, if you go out beyond like 12 or 14 feet, you might want to add a third sawhorse in the
keep it
middle.
from bouncing
Keep it
very
from
much.
bouncing up and down. Yeah, but this works great, and it's a really nice, comfortable height and a very safe way to work.
Yeah, and light to carry around if you ever have to move it from one side
Yep,
or the other of
absolutely.
the house. Okay, well you've got this under control. You keep cutting them, I'll keep nailing
All
them
right,
up.
go ahead, Danny.
Another area of concern for having a healthy home is the quality of water that you drink. Now, even if your water is delivered to your home through a municipal system like this, and you have the best treatment that's available, it still can be contaminated before it makes it to your home. The answer is water filtration. Now, you could install a filtering system in the ground right where the water comes into your house, but most homeowners are just concerned with the water they drink and the water they use to cook with. That's why the point of use type filtering systems have become so popular. This is where you have a filtration system under your kitchen sink that delivers the filtered water. Now, these homeowners just had one of those systems installed. Now, the filtering system that was installed on this kitchen sink is called a carbon block filter, and it actually has its own faucet so that all the water that's coming through this faucet is not filtered, only the water that'll be used for drinking and cooking. Now, the way the plumber did this is he actually mounted on the inside of the cabinet the filter assembly and then teed into a cold water line in order to supply the water that'll go through this faucet. And of course, faucets, filtering systems like this come in a lot of different finishes so that you can match the type of finish you have on your sink itself. And to give you an idea of how that goes together and what it looks like, this is a nice little diagram. Here's your faucet up on the edge of the sink that goes down, loops through the filter itself, then the supply line comes in from the tee that was created by tying in to the cold water line. Now this filter will last about 6 months or filter 750 gallons of water and is much less expensive than that many gallons of bottled water. But to give you an idea when the filter needs to be changed, it tells you all of that. You see a little indicator light right here that's flashing green. It does that when the filter is in good shape. When that light turns to an amber color, it means you need to start thinking about changing the filter. And when it turns red, it's time to change that filter. Now, this type of system is very effective in reducing chlorine, which creates a lot of the smell and taste that a lot of municipal water systems have. It also is very effective in reducing lead, lindane, mercury, and several other contaminants that may find their way into your water. But it leaves alone the beneficial fluoride that really helps your teeth. Now, this is one system, but one that's a little more effective in really ridding your water of a lot of the contaminants is called an RO system, or reverse osmosis. Now, this more elaborate water filtration system can still be positioned under your kitchen sink, but it'll take up a little more room. Let me show you what's involved in this one. It's actually a 4-filter system, starting with a particulate filter that'll screen out any of the dirt or sediment that you may have in the water. Then the water travels over to here, which is another one of the carbon filters like we looked at earlier that'll reduce the chlorine that's responsible for a lot of the bad taste and odor you may have in the water, as well as several other reduction of contaminants as well. Then back to the center, which is the key to it all, the reverse osmosis filter, which is basically a series of membranes that the water is forced down through, and it basically screens out any of the microscopic contaminants that may be in the water. Then it will exit right out of the back of the filter and right into another type of carbon filter that'll screen it a little bit more, and it will ensure your water's crystal clear when it heads over into the holding tank. Now, because this is so elaborate, it tends to lower your water pressure. That's why the holding tank will hold a quantity of water so that when you're turning your faucet on, you won't have any drop in water pressure at all. Because over a 24-hour period, this will produce about 30 gallons of water, so this helps solve any problems at all. Now, if you're concerned about the water you have in your home, there are a number of kits that are available at the home center that you can test the water yourself, ranging from a bacteria test, lead test, water analysis, iron hardness, all of that. But a more intensive type test is available at your local health department. You can contact your health department. Most of those will supply you with a water sampling kit, instructions on how to do it, and then take care of all the lab work for you. Now stay with us. After this next segment, we'll take a look at a number of other issues you need to be concerned with if you want the healthy home.
Now let's join Danny at the Home Center to check out the best new products. Brought to you by the Home Depot.
Almost any home improvement project that you're taking on is made a little bit easier if you have sufficient light, especially if you're, say, changing a kitchen faucet or a kitchen sink and you're having to get under that cabinet a good bit. You really need the light. But if you use incandescent or a halogen light, it'll really get hot in an enclosed area like that. Also, if you bump it with your elbow or one of your tools, you're probably going to blow the bulb. The solution is to use a fluorescent light. Particularly, this one is a GE Cool Star job light. Now, it's pretty neat. It's got a lot of kind of neat features here. One of the things is if you're working in an enclosed area and you happen to touch this one, it's not going to bother you at all. It's cool to the touch and it's very impact resistant, and this bulb will last 3 to 5 years longer than a halogen or an incandescent. Now, it's only costing $30 for this job light. A lot of applications, you may be up in the attic doing some work, you may be out under the hood of your car trying to do a little work. This is a perfect thing for that. Got a little handle on it here to carry it, less than 3 pounds. On the back side here, you've got your 8-foot cord with an on and off switch, and you have an area that you can roll the cord up around. Also, if you want to mount this, say on a piece of wood or even on the top of your sawhorses, has the little brackets here that you can mount it. Even if you want to mount it on the wall up above a work area, you can do that as well. Now, one of the things that you may want to think about is to buy more than one of these, because once you get it, you'll find out how handy it really is. And It's only $30. Well, we're really talking about some pleasant subjects this week with unclean air and dirty water, but let me throw a couple more at you. Radon gas and lead in paint. Now, radon gas is an invisible, odorless, radioactive gas that is a result of uranium under the Earth's surface deteriorating and sneaking into your home around cracks in the foundation or cracks around plumbing pipes. Now, it is a bad thing because it has been proven that it does cause cancer. What you need to do in order to find out if your home has a higher than normal level of radon, you can test it yourself with one of the kits that are available at the home center, or have a professional inspector come out. He'll use a similar type of test to gather the radon gas, send it off to a laboratory to see if your home is like one of the 1 in 15 homes in the country that does have radon gas problem. If you do, they can recommend a radon specialist to give you ideas on how to rid your home of radon gas. Now, another test that you can do is for lead paint. There's several different types of homeowner-friendly tests that are available out there, but also there's a lot of specialists that can test for you using a variety of different methods to determine if your home has lead paint. And if your home was built in 1978 or before, there's a good chance you have this problem. Another thing we're hearing a lot about, black mold.
Black mold is just a name that the general public has put on mold today. There are many different types of mold out there, and it can be a great health problem as well as a structural problem.
Now, if a homeowner suspects that they may have a mold problem in their home, how do you go about the testing procedures?
I would recommend they call their local home inspector and find someone that is familiar with mold and mold testing, and they can do the proper test and find out exactly what type of mold they have and if it is a problem.
Okay, if they find the problem, then I assume that a certified home inspector would be able to recommend just what needs to be done to correct the problem.
Exactly. It may be a simple thing as just a cleanup, or it could be something more internal, such as inside the walls with your insulation and your walls and that type thing, and they might have to actually go in and pull some of these materials out and replace them.
I would think that there would almost have to be some kind of demolition if the problem exists inside the wall cavity. There almost has to be a little bit of tear out.
That's exactly right, and people need to know also, just because they see it in one area, one small area in a corner, basement, or garage, or under a house, it may not be isolated to that area. It could have spread over a wide range of 40, 60, maybe even 100 feet as well.
Now, the testing that David mentioned is relatively inexpensive, but well worth it for your peace of mind.
Now let's go outside for Around the Yard with Danny and lawn and garden expert Barbara Katz.
A damaged branch on one of your favorite trees can be not only unsightly, but it can be really bad for the tree because it opens it up to disease.
Well, I've tried to trim a lot of branches, and I always end up with this big split out little area right in here. How can I prevent that happening?
Danny, you probably leave too much weight on the branch before you make that cut. So you just got to remember that the first cut that you want to make is going to be further up the tree so that you get rid of that weight, and then your last cut is clean and nice and actually much easier to do. Make your first cut somewhere up in this area. Now, that first cut is important to make because it relieves the weight of the branch. And Danny's actually using a bow saw for that. But as we're getting closer into the tree to make this final cut, we need maybe a smaller saw that just allows us to get very close to the trunk and make that perfect cut just at the collar of the tree.
Now, it used to be when my father and I would cut limbs like this, we would put a tar substance over it. Is that necessary to protect the tree?
Not anymore, Danny. We found that, in fact, that sometimes can seal in disease or even insect problems, so we don't do it anymore. The main thing is if you can make the right cut right at the collar there, then you do the tree such a big favor and it will heal itself and you don't have to do anything more.
Well, I hope we haven't alarmed you this week or made you overly concerned about the health of your home. But most of the things we looked at are easily tested, and most of them are easily taken care of if you have a problem at all. One more thing to be concerned with: carbon monoxide in your home. Easily detected with a carbon monoxide detector. Now, these are easily installed, cost less than $15, and again, gives you that little peace of mind.
thanks for watching this episode of Today's Homeowner. And don't forget to comment, like, and hit the bell icon so that we can notify you when new videos are posted.
And don't go anywhere, click around and continue the home improving fun.